Hey everyone, it's Keith. We're continuing on the discussions on cloud optimization. Today is the third discussion out of four, and we're going to be talking about some really important points around having discipline to control your costs. So let's give a listen. I'd like to introduce you to Leandro Balbinot from McDonald's. So maybe right before we get started, Leandro, if you can let's introduce yourself, tell us a little bit about your organization, your role, and how you guys are leveraging cloud.
Thank you, Keith. So, as I said, my name is Leandro. I work for McDonald's. I lead globally some areas here inside technology, including product engineering and all the development on the software, as well as data and architecture. Right. It means we have a team, a global team that's augmented by providers, and we develop all the software that you see in the digital area of McDonald's, as well as the restaurant area of McDonald's.
And how would you, can you size what percentage of your operations, digital and IT, are run from the cloud today?
We have close to 95% of our workloads on the cloud already. Very limited exceptions that are systems that are quite old and impossible to migrate to cloud at this point. We have most of this infrastructure running in AWS with some workloads in Google and also in Azure.
And over how much time did it take you to get to 95% on the cloud?
It was like a 3-year journey and involved different types of migration, as any cloud migration implies, like things like transformation, really moving to a different architecture on the cloud, to just lift and shift and running a workload in the cloud. So we did the first migration faster because we just lift and shift many things, and with the time we have been transforming them to a new architecture, a new model, to really leverage the benefits of cloud more.
Yeah, interesting. So before this, you had shared a comment to us about your cloud that I thought was intriguing, and I want to get you to expand on this. So you had mentioned the cost of these cloud platforms are cheaper than on-prem, especially if you consider the elasticity. Can you explain a little bit about what that means?
Yes, if you have an environment like ours where you have a lot of data, for instance, right, and you have to process data in a way that you cannot forecast necessarily all the time, meaning like you have to reprocess a domain, or we have to do a real-time processing of data, and you don't know how much data you're going to get on this real-time ingestion. You have two options. If you're on-prem, you have to either suffer with performance issues and just like limit your capacity to a certain level that you can pay for, can afford, or you buy a lot of hardware for a peak and use it 3-4 times a month or a year, yeah, which is very expensive, right? When you have the elasticity, and especially the auto-scale option that we have in the cloud providers, you get to a point where you can actually do whatever processing you want to do and just pay for that period of use in a very easy way, in a very easy to manage way as well. So that's much cheaper. And another example is, instead of having 8 or 9 environments for testing that are fixed and there to be used in an on-prem environment, we have none, and we just like using technology like infrastructure as a code and stuff like that. We actually ramp up an environment, do the testing, and then just decommission it immediately afterwards. So we pay for a week of infrastructure instead of a year of infrastructure, right? For that.
I'm going to anticipate there's going to be some CIOs watching this. So I don't know if that's the case. Can you share this a little bit about, just high level, what's some of the math that you're using to kind of come up to this conclusion?
No, it's basically we don't need to dimension to the peaks. We make the dimension of the basic infrastructure that runs every day, and you pay like a full time to a lower level, right? That is much lower than the on-prem environment would be, and then it basically scale as needed. And you see that the peaks that you have along the year are cheaper than paying for a bigger capacity the whole year, right? Gotcha. That's very simple and possible to do, right? Of course, you need to change sometimes the way you work. I mean, if you don't have abilities like infrastructure as a code to be like ramping up an environment with a press of a button, that becomes a little more complicated, because if you end up like keeping your environments full time on the cloud, it eventually will be more expensive than keeping it on-prem, right? So.
Interesting. Okay, thank you. Thank you very much.
I'm not saying that the like for like of capacity is cheaper at the cloud. That's not what I'm saying, right? It's just saying that I'm using less capacity at the end.
Yep. No, understood. Thank you. That's helpful. So a couple of weeks ago, I had the pleasure of speaking with Alan Smith, another CIO, and I'm going to paraphrase what he said. He said, "Cloud enables organizations to fail quickly and cheaply, but you need to be careful because you can bankrupt your company doing this." So what do you think he means by that? And do you agree with that?
I think that there are many ways we can technology bankrupt the company, right? Let's have to be very careful, right? Let's say, but if I don't know exactly what he was referring to. If he's referring to cost and the cost of the overall thing, if you don't manage the utilization of the cloud because it's too easy to ramp up a new workload and very difficult to remember to have to decommission it, for instance, you can end up paying like a fortune to these cloud providers if you don't control that, right? It's very expensive. I mean, I'm not saying that the capacity there is cheaper. That's my point. So if you start like ramping up and forget to decommission or decide not to decommission and just keep ramping up, it's much faster to buy, right? To buy capacity. You just go, click a button, you get a new server. While in on-prem, you have to approve CapEx. You have to there's a much more work to do, like to buy hardware. So indeed, if you don't control, your cost can go to sky. For sure.
Yeah. How many teams or DevOps teams do you have who have access to these resources?
Yeah, we have the different teams, right? The development side of the house, they ask for ramping up new environments all the time to do testing, to do new developments, to do branches, or all sorts of things, right? They are the consumers of that, let's say, and they use it at the end. But the requisition is sent to a DevOps team that actually controls that and understand and kind of put some kind of governance on that to avoid that everybody does whatever they want, right? Let's say. This DevOps team is composed by the operations people and the architecture people that actually sits close to development. So meaning that it's a true DevOps, let's say, like team, and they are kind of looking at different perspectives of that: security, cost, topology, and all this, right? All this seen as a whole together by this team.
Yeah. So how do you ensure proper governance, right? But still giving these teams access to innovate and do their job?
Yeah, we have to have some type of governance, right? I mean, to my point before, if you leave it to the consumers to decide to ramp up new environments and stuff like that, you're going to end up in a situation where you get to lose control on the cost side. So you have to put some restriction, right? And the restriction is basically a team that actually receives a request through Jira or through any kind of ServiceNow request tool or anything, and then analyze what the people want and quickly decide to push back or to accept it. It cannot be like a process that takes long because you lose all the benefits of cloud, right? You have to wait a week or two to ramp up a new environment. You're losing the benefits of the cloud, right? Yep. So it have to be something that is really quickly, a quick SLA where you say, okay, go ahead, do it. Because there is an importance when you do that, you register that. Meaning that you know that you have to, someone is looking at the commission in a certain point in time, right? So you ask you how long you want this environment, right? Because it's very easy to leave like environments alone there without anybody using, and then it's just paying for that, right? You're just paying, you don't even know that you're paying for that.
Yeah, and that's what I was thinking about is how do you avoid having these zombie resources kind of scattered about? Does your DevOps team go out individually and do they shut these instances down? Or
they have a system that helps them to control that. They build like a system under the tools we have, like that controls. I mean, if you ask an environment for a month, someone is controlling that you're gonna decommission that after a month, right? Okay. That discipline is important. Without this discipline, is like things just gonna go rocket sky, right?
So you guys had to build your own tool to help your team manage that?
It's built on top of ServiceNow, but yes, we have a control of that. Yeah.
Okay. So then we get into visibility. Particularly as you're looking across 3 different platforms, right? You're doing some Azure, some AWS, some Google. I've heard the phrase more than once. People tell me that with the cloud bills, you're either going to get 40 lines or 4 million lines, but nothing in between. Then you multiply out your platforms. I mean, how is it that every month when you sign off on that, how are you confident that it's accurate and that you're not wasting money with these instances that aren't being used?
Yeah, we there are ways of doing that. We use a company called Second Watch that helps us with doing that. So they actually do the second watch. Basically, they look at this from an efficiency perspective and from a resource utilization perspective. They have tools and they have things that help us to understand which environments can be decommissioned, which cannot be decommissioned. So all this control is done by my team, the DevOps team, with their help.
Okay.
Right, because again, without this, your cost can go really high. So that's a suggestion I strongly recommend.
And without a team like a Second Watch, I mean, what kind of team would you have to put in place to make up for that?
Basically, you have to have an operations team that looks at all the resources and understand what resources are for, and if there are reports that tell you if they're being used or not. Right? We can create policies that say if I'm not using an environment for X days, I turn it off, or X hours, I turn it off. So all this can be done, right? Because you can. The good thing about the cloud, you can decommission an environment very quickly. Even if you regret, you can ramp it up again. So you can save it. There is a dormant kind of model where actually every provider has a different model for that, but you can keep this like paying a very low cost until you're 100% sure this can be decommissioned, and then you just toss it, right?
Yeah. But you probably need some certain specific skill sets to be able to go and keep an eye on that.
Yeah, the main skill set is people that knows how to operate the clouds, right? I mean, there are like certifications for that. Like Google has their certification, Amazon as well, and Azure. You are certified for that environment, meaning you know how to use the tools, you know how to take the reports and see who is using, you know how to decommission something, you know how to put something in a different state. All this is training that you can get out of this company, right?
And then do you guys have a single pane of glass where you can go to get an accurate update on your costs for all the platforms, like just all in one place?
We do. Yeah, we do, and we track that in a monthly basis because it became a very relevant cost for us because we have our infrastructure running there. So
yeah,
like basically our data center costs, all data center costs, all on this, right? So we have to look at that every month. Yes.
Yeah. Can you share? Is there a tool that you use or?
It's a mix. It's a mix of Second Watch reports and Aptio as a tool as well that we look for the financial side.
Okay, gotcha. Okay, that's great. Thank you. And then just again on the visibility, trying to get like tactical. What are there other workflows or other tools or other ways you'd organize your people to help kind of get this under control so that you feel good about it?
Yeah, we should create workflows, right? That's what I've recommended before. So we should create some discipline, meaning that we should create simple and agile workflows to approve new resources, to control what's being done and what's not being done. That's important because otherwise you lose visibility on what's happening on your environment, right? Mm-hmm. But if you give your account access to many people, you don't know what they're doing anymore. I mean, it's just like you can go there and buy 3 new servers with a three click of buttons, right? So and who gonna see that in a report from Amazon that comes with 40,000 lines of instances, right? So we have to have something that registers what's happening in a way that you can control.
Yeah, I may be interested in hiring those guys just to help me with my family phone bill because it's kind of the same way.
It's kind of the same, yeah.
Yeah. So any other lessons learned that you have gone through as you've built this optimization model that you can share, or mistakes that you've made that you can bring to the attention of others?
I think the first mistake is clearly you get like excited about the benefits of cloud, and then you lose the control. People start ramping up stuff here and there and all over the place, and then all of a sudden the bill comes and it's very high and you don't know why, right? So that's the first mistake that I think everybody that moved to cloud did once at least, right?
Yeah.
I think the second mistake is really like to to not change the way we operate, meaning that I come back to the landscapes like us. Like if you have SAP or something, like you have have to keep like 8 or 9 environments for testing, gold, Q&A, pre-production, staging, all this, right? If you go to the cloud and keep this full time as well, and spending full time all the cost of this capacity, what's the benefit of going to the cloud in the point, right? There are still some benefits on the agility, but you lose the cost benefit of doing that, right? You can ramping up staging environments only when you're going to do staging, when you're going to testing, when you're going to do pre-production. So that gives you a lot of benefits on saving money, right? And if you can set your capacity, your continuous capacity to the lowest possible with the auto scale option, you also save money as well. So that's something in the beginning you normally don't do, and you're losing money without even knowing that.
Well, thank you. I appreciate those insights. And with your permission, we're going to move to the rapid fire. I'm going to just sling some questions at you.
Sure.
So where do you go to stay abreast of all the new developments in the technology industry?
I go to different places. I go to Medium. Medium for me is a great source of information to understand what's happening in technology.
And what's that called? Medium.
It's just like a blog and a news portal platform, right? So that's funny. It's interesting how we find great things there, right?
Okay.
And I go to also things like Crunchbase and CB to look at what's happening on the technology industry, what is being invested, who is being invested for, who is interested in which kind of technology. So that helps me as well. And then I use other tools like other sources like talking to peers or going to Gartner as well for information, Gartner analysts and Gartner portals. So I think there are many sources of information, and I strongly recommend everybody keeps up to date, because especially nowadays there are things that are solving your problems there, you don't even know about them, right?
Mm-hmm. What's your favorite book?
There are some that I really like. Insanely Simple is a book that I really like. On the more technical side, I like the DevOps Handbook. That's the best way to understand DevOps. If you want to interested, it's really interesting as well.
Thank you. That's probably not a recommendation for me, but thank you.
Yeah.
What is your best guess when the vaccine will be ready for mass distribution?
I mean, it's funny. We have this. Willing to get that earlier, and many people are promising it earlier. But when you hear the real experts and specialists, they say before June next year, there's no chance that it's going to be available. I sometimes prefer to listen to the ones that say that will be ready in November, but yeah. I'm not sure how much I trust that, actually.
Yeah, fair enough. And last one. So I know that you speak at least 3 languages. You've lived in different places, and you know different cultures. How would you say that experience and that knowledge has had a positive impact on your career?
I think total. I mean, when you work with different cultures, especially, and you see that actually there are different ways of tackling and behaving in certain situations, which you can get the best of each culture, right? I mean, flexibility and agility of the Latin culture is good, but the discipline of the German and European culture is good as well. And US entrepreneurship, and if you start getting the pieces of these cultures, and if you can find a way of putting this together, that's perfect, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much. So I appreciate your insights, and I think that CIOs will find this very, very helpful as well. So thank you for being with us.
Thanks, Kitty. Appreciate the invitation.
Hope you heard a few things that triggered some new thinking for you. We do these conversations on IT topics weekly, so please feel free to subscribe to our YouTube channel. That way you get updates on new content, as well as you can post comments and, more importantly, suggest topics that you'd like us to address. You can see that we have some pretty amazing resources. So please let us know how we can help you on your upcoming digital transformation and enterprise IT projects. Thanks very much. Until next time.